All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Hi, everybody. So I wanted to jump on and give you a sneak peek of my podcast. For those who have been following me for a long time, I had a long time podcast called the Handyman Hotline. I had been doing that for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then I decided we needed to focus on other things. And so for the last year and a half, we haven't done it. But until now, so we're bringing it back, very new, very improved. I mean, look at that set. That's a very fancy set. So I wanted to give you a chance to watch the first 20 minutes of it with me tonight. You can ask me questions. Maybe you can even tell me how bad it is. Anything you would like. You can tell me what you're thinking, and we can go from there. So I'm going to wait for there to be a little bit more people here. We already have, I got my YouTube going, and we got our Instagram going, and YouTube is coming. YouTube always takes a while, but once YouTube gets going, it's popping. Hey everyone, how's it going? Yes! Yeah, so if you want to watch the full episode of the very first Handyman Hotline, it will be available for free on Spotify and wherever you listen to podcasts next week, Tuesday. If you want to listen to it tomorrow, you can. If you go on my Substack or my Patreon, we're going to be putting it there for paid subscribers. So you're always going to get 1 week early episodes and maybe bonus episodes, depending on how this is all going. A lot of work is going into this. So we have 7 episodes already recorded. I have 2 episodes edited, and we're trying real hard to make sure we stay ahead of the ball game. There's a lot going on in the world, so it can be super hard to keep track of everything. So I think we're going to start watching the episode. If you would like to watch the episode, hang tight. I think it'll be a real fun time. If you got 20 minutes to kill, it's 20 minutes of the first 60 minutes of the episode. So if you want to hang out with me, here we go. I'm going to turn this around on you guys. We're going to watch it like we're, bootlegging it like we used to in college. Okay. How is this, everybody? Good. So this is the very first episode. I hope this... I'm trying to make sure you can both see well. Yeah, I built the set myself. Yeah, I built that set myself. It's actually a set we've been using for like a year or so for like public speaking gigs. So it's been really fun. Let me I don't know if I actually have the volume on this right. Okay, give me 1 second. I forgot that I don't have the volume on here. How do I do that? I don't know if you guys heard this joke before, but I'm not the trans IT lady. The trans handyman, and I don't know how any of this works. I love that YouTube has just turned into a place where people are just calling me man as if I care. Like, honey, if I have a voice like this, and I could also bench press you, I don't give a shit. Okay, I'm gonna figure this out. I like how you're all watching me figure out how to make sound come on my computer. Sometimes you think ahead, and other times you're lucky to wake up in the morning, Okay, where am I looking? Okay, hold on. I'm thinking settings. I feel like someone who's an IT specialist right now is losing their mind while watching me do this. Okay, there's a lot of choices over here. Oh, speakers. That sounds right. That sounds right, doesn't it? Oh, shit! Okay, I did it. I'm now officially the trans IT lady, everyone. Okay, are you ready to watch it? Everyone ready? Here we go. First episode of the Handyman Hotline. This is the Handyman Hotline, where we answer your home repair questions with compassion and love. My name is Mercury Stardust, and today we have an amazing set of questions for you that are all involving plumbing, all the way from clogged sinks, worms in your drain, and then the mental crisis you may have when you are facing mold. That and more on this episode of the Handyman Hotline. Mercury, Mercury, Stardust. Can you tell I had a lot of fun with the editing? Mercury, Mercury, Stardust. She'll teach you how to make it all alright. Louder and captions. I haven't captioned it yet. I'm very sorry about that. We're doing that tomorrow night. Boy, does it feel good to be back in the saddle today. I gotta tell you, it's been over a year since we have recorded the very last Handyman Hotline. And boy, am I excited that we are bringing this show back. And this time around, it's me talking directly to all of you and answering your questions by myself. Oh my God, did she get confidence? Well, it's been a wonderful year since we have spoken last on this podcast. But I have to tell you, the overarching vibe to all of it is change. Change has been on the horizon for us in a lot of different ways. Not just me as a company, not just my life as a trans handyman, but also when it comes to the world and the geopolitics of all of it. It feels like it can be crushing sometimes when we are just a little leaf in the wind being carried from one tragic thing to another sometimes. But I gotta tell you, there's nothing that makes me happy. Okay, everyone, I'm gonna pause 1 second to make sure I can get the volume higher. Everyone just wait 1 second. Someone asked me to figure it out, and I want to try. Okay. Is that it? I like how something else made noise, but none of this did. I gotta tell you, yeah, someone asked me to try, and I want to give it a good try. You know, they were having a hard time hearing it, and oh, that sounds like louder. Okay, let's try that. No, that was not it. Oh. Thank you for hanging on there, buddy. I appreciate you. I am just making sure that everyone can hear. And honestly, sadly I can't do captions right now. I wish I could. I should have thought of that ahead of time. Is that right? I like how the other computer in this room is making noise. But not this one. Okay, that must be it, right? Man, I gotta tell you, I'm so happy that I have people who do this stuff for me. Okay, I'm almost there. We're gonna try like one more time here. And we're gonna see. Okay, that sounded like that was it. That sounded like that was it. Okay. When I was on my book tour, I met so many people, 20,000 people, and we have talked about so many things. Did that work? I don't think so. Arkansas, and I met people in Arkansas who had some amazing stories, and it reconnected me with the world that I think that I have gotten lost in sometimes. You know, me and Zizi, my wonderful spouse now, we just moved into our very first house. We have done amazing things in the past year, but the world still keeps on spinning, and sometimes it feels like it gets out of control. But that's where this all comes in. Finding community and connecting with one another and feeling like we are a little less lost. This will be on YouTube. Is better than nothing. And that's where I'm at right now. And I am gonna guess that you are probably in the same boat I am. We don't really know where the world's gonna go. We don't know what's gonna happen from day to day, but what we do know is that home repairs are gonna need to be made still, and you may need help along the way. And that's what we are going to focus on. So, without further ado, on the very first podcast of the new version of the Handyman Hotline, let's answer our first question ever.
Hi, Mercury. My name is Paige. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a big fan. I love watching your TikToks. I was wondering about my sink in my bathroom. Since I've moved into my current house, it has always been really slow to drain. But I don't know how to unclog it because the little plug doesn't really come out. It's tied to something in the pipe. I've tried putting Drano down it, but nothing's happened. If you have any advice, I'd love to hear it. Thank you.
First and foremost, what a frustrating experience that so many people have. You know, that, A, I should remind you that you should never feel bad about things like this because so many people go through a clogged drain. Boy, I feel like it's a universal feeling that we all have. Either when we are on the toilet and the toilet's clogged, and boy, is that not a harrowing moment. Or when we are, washing our hands in the sink and it ain't going down. This is all universal things that a lot of us face. But what should be our knee-jerk reaction?
You can call the hotline by going to the link in my bio.
Your brain is going in a bad direction. You have a good idea of what you can.
Thank you for the super
I'm gonna
chat.
fill in the gaps though, because there's some things I think you might want to know if you're going farther with this repair yourself. First and foremost, stay away from chemical drain cleaners. Now, I know that's a controversial statement, and a lot of people are going to fight all day about it in the comments. And I gotta tell you right now, with all my years of experience, chemical drain cleaners cause more of a pain in the butt most of the time than they do actually solve the problem. Now, the knee-jerk reaction, when you can't see a problem, you want to solve it without having to really worry about it, right? You can't.
I built that on-air sign
So
too.
your reaction is gonna be, I'm gonna take this and just dump it in there. And I get that. That makes sense. But what I think a lot of folks don't always understand is that you don't really eat away with those chemicals. Those chemicals don't just make everything magically go away. What they do is loosen up the clog and send it farther down the line most of the time. Most of your drains, especially when we're talking about sinks, bathroom sinks specifically, will have hair buildup in it. It's almost universal that every single bathroom in this country and probably elsewhere has a lot of hair in the sink drain. That is not an abnormal thing. Different products we use with our hair might cause larger backups. Like you might be using gel in your hair a lot. That gel can build up. Various kinds of gels can build up in the drain with the hair, which can clog and become kind of a little mini rock in your drain. That will be a bigger problem, right? The thing is, there are products that are a little bit more effective from a chemical standpoint than just your regular Drano. Drano is fine. I'm not going to sit here and just poop on it all of a sudden.
Fraggle
But
Rock, that's
my
good.
personal favorite chemical drain cleaner, if you're going to use one, is going to be anything that has 100% lye in it. So specifically Thrift. Thrift is one of my favorite products. When you are just dealing with hair, it is going to have a much better luck dissolving hair and actually getting rid of most of it instead of Drano and other stuff that's going to be better at getting rid of grime. It's going to be really good at cleaning it, but not necessarily dissolving that hair. And that's what you want to do in an ideal condition. Now, I'm saying ideal condition for one specific reason, because your pipes are not ideal. A lot of times, I don't know if you've been scrolling late at night, but when I was a kid and when I would be scrolling on the good old TV late at night, you would have these info commercials and they would show you this clear glass that has water and
Yes, you are watching me while I'm watching me.
another glass that's clear that has Drano in it, and they put air in it, and then over the course of 3 hours it dissolves. And there's a few things that I find hilarious about that. Number one, a glass is not a pipe. And I don't know why I need to say that, but it's true. A glass is not a pipe. And a glass is so much cleaner. It's often way smoother, and all of that really matters when we're talking about collecting glass.
I love the red
and
green
talking
show.
about, collecting dirt in your drain. All of that is going to make that chemical that you're pouring down, regardless if it's Drano or Green Gobbler or liquid heat, any of those at all, including Grit, any of those products, they're going to get weaker the more moisture they're getting. And if your clog is 8, 10, 15, 20 feet down that drain, well, that's a lot of work and a lot of trust you're having on that chemical drain cleaner. And that's a lot of work. It's probably not going to be nearly as effective when it gets there. So it being concentrated, all those 8 ounces being concentrated in one glass in one specific spot, and then you put hair in it, and then it dissolves it in an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 hours. Well, that's great, but you should never let Drano sit there that long on a pipe. If you look at the directions of most of these chemical drain cleaners, they tell you don't leave it sitting for more than 30 minutes. It's because some of these drain cleaners can, in fact,
Hi,
interact
JK.
with your piping in not a fun way. Cast iron pipe is a really good example. If it's old enough and it's beat up already, and then you're putting a bunch of Drano on it, and you just let that Drano sit for several hours, yeah, I mean, there's a chance it could go right through it. That does and can happen. But typically, you wash it out. You dilute it.
Maintenance
essentially.
SMR.
It's not sitting in that same spot for that long period of time. So the fact that it takes an hour to 4 hours for it to dissolve in a clear glass of water is no indication that's what it's doing in your drain. So don't
You're
let those
welcome. Thank you for
wonderful,
watching.
terrible info commercials fool you. They're not going to help you the way you think it might help you.
Darn, my sink trap's clogged.
Do you know what's clogging it?
Who knows what's down there? Grease, food, hair.
Use Crystal Drano, the all-purpose drain opener.
Isn't liquid plumber's all-purpose?
No, it may not work on tough grease clogs.
Well, Drano.
Yes, Drano works on grease and food and hair.
Wow, I never know what the clog is, so I'll use all-purpose Drano.
Drano, the all-purpose drain opener.
Another thing that you brought up is your stopper, your actual stopper that you push up and down, and then that's
That ad though.
sink, and then that's where you would put a snake or some type of auger, right? That actually isn't where I would recommend putting most of your augers and your snakes and trying to unclog something. I would go underneath your sink, and I would remove something called a P-trap. See, a P-trap is basically an upside-down P-shaped thing underneath your sink, okay? It looks more like a U, but somebody thought it was a really funny idea to think about it being upside down and called it a P. I don't know why. A B-trap makes way more sense. Because it's better in the shape of a B than it is in a P. So that's what we're looking for. But all that being said, that P-trap has a little dip in it. And the dip is below where the incoming line is into your sink. Now, the reason why it's below it and not just straight up to your sink is because then you would have a lot more backups. You would have a lot more sewage backups. You would have a lot more smells coming up from underneath it. All the bad stuff that you don't want to deal with ever would be coming at you if you did not have your B-trap. That's what we're calling it. We're rebranding it right now. But if you did not have your P-trap, that's what would happen. It would be a lot of smelly stuff, and it would be more backup. You have freestanding water that is usually in that P-trap, and that water stops the smell And it can just prevent a whole bunch of things. That pressure will keep anything from backing up in it as well. Now, the way that your drain works overall, right, is that you have your sink, and then that drains through down into what is called like a funnel or a drain pipe.
Tailpipe. Tailpipe. It's called a tailpipe.
Into your P-trap, which then loops up into your actual outgoing line, and then that hooks up to other pipes that are all going towards something called a stack. And your stack is where your bathtub, your toilet, your sink, and a lot of your other things in your whole house can be connected to. Okay? You're all kind of sharing one little stack. Okay? Now, if you're in an apartment building, chances are they have multiple stacks like that, depending on where you are in the building. But you probably are sharing a stack with your upstairs neighbor, your downstairs neighbor.
The world is on fire.
A larger version of a stack, which then goes to a sewage line. Okay? So in this instance, all right,
Thank you, Marissa.
what we are dealing with is a clog that is probably somewhere before the stack. Because once it gets into the stack is way bigger. It's way thicker. If you are having problems only in your sink in your bathroom, that means that you're only having problems from where the stack is all the way to where the actual
Thank you.
sink is itself, right? You're not connected to anything else. If your stack was backed up, that's A, way more expensive of fix, but B, you're going to have backups in your toilet, backups in your tub, and in other places in your home. So that's why we know it's not the stack. It's more than likely just the drain that's going from the sink all the way to the stack, or where other plumbing is meeting at one point. So we're talking probably anywhere between 5 to 12 feet probably of drain. Now, the reason why that matters is because A, that's going to help us decide what type of auger, what type of snake we may want to use, okay? Now, you can also do something that is kind of more. I guess when you're doing this, you're going to kind of see how it kind of goes by judgment. It's hard to know for sure if this is 100% accurate kind of thing. Okay, but basically what you can do is just run the water in your sink, and when you run the water in the sink, the longer it takes for it to actually start clogging and backing up, the farther down the drain it is. If it's something pretty immediate, like it's the P-trap and somewhere nearby, well, it's going to be almost immediate, right? It will start backing up within the first 2 seconds, basically.
Oh, hi.
But
Hi, Zero.
if it takes like 30 seconds, well, it may be right in the end of that connection point, too. At the end of the connection point.
Why did I not cut that out?
Into your
Did I just like burp?
It's a great starting point. So now you have a good foundation of where you need to go. You kind of understand how this is working. You understand how you can kind of problem solve and diagnose the problem. And now you can kind of understand what products you want to stay away from. Let's focus on what you should do in this. Okay? So, now that you determined kind of what you think this is, okay?
Your cat's watching too?
Or
God.
farther down where the stack is. Now you can.
We're gonna leave the burping.
Remove the P-trap, and I'm going to immediately go up towards where the stopper is and clean any clog that might be in there, including what's in the P-trap. Because a lot of times that stopper will kind of get things stuck around it. Now, the stopper can actually be removed entirely as well, but that's a whole different discussion. That is really hard to explain in just an audio form when I'm explaining a lot of other things. But if you want to know how to remove a sink drain stopper, you can look that up on almost any platform on the good old-fashioned internet, and you will find probably a pretty gosh darn good version of what it would look like underneath your sink. And they're pretty universal. There's not a whole lot of variation from one to one. So you should be okay in that regard if you want to look into that. But if it isn't your stopper is collecting something, or there's something blocking up in your P trap.
Thank you for the feedback, everybody. I appreciate
The
it.
next one is then you gotta clean, you gotta pull something out of the drain itself. Okay? This is where I'm gonna recommend right out of the gate a Cobra Skinny Drain Cleaner. These are 8-foot to 10-foot products that are great for people who haven't done a whole lot of plumbing DIY projects before. And the reason why I recommend those is because 8 to 10 feet isn't really going to get you in a whole lot of trouble. And they're 1/8 inch thick snakes. They're not very big. A 1/4 inch, a 3/8. Those are much bigger, and even though they might clean a little better,
I built
they're
this
also
set
more
myself.
to work with and way more likely for you to get stuck in the drain.
Thank you, Dodgeberry.
As far
Dogberry.
as a sink, as far as when we're dealing with a sink itself, the best options I can tell you is a Cobra Skinny Drain Cleaner is going to do one heck of a job. Okay. Now, when you get the product itself, then go to the tip of the snake, the first maybe 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. Take that and bend it at a 45-degree angle. And when you bend it at a 45-degree angle, what it essentially is doing is that when you're putting that into the drain and you're turning that product, then it's going to grab around the elbow, grab around the inside of the pipes when they're
Oh no, what just happened?
pull itself.
Oh, there we go.
Otherwise, it kind of pushes up against inside of the drain. It doesn't always, do the job it's supposed to do. So that's what we're essentially doing. We're trying to make the product work a little bit better. in this instance, now when you're doing it, when you're feeding it in there, you feed about like 6 inches at a time. Lock the wire back down, and then twist, loosen it back up, feed it 6 more inches, lock it up, feed it back in there. Okay? So you're just feeding a little bit of that snake in at a time. The reason why, because if you do a whole lot of it at once, it's going to bind up, it's going to twist outside of the drain, but even inside the drain, it might give you a lot of problems. So we want to make sure we're feeding it a little bit at a time. And then once we're all the way in, like we're talking probably, you get anywhere between.
Thank you for the feedback, Can.
There, you should probably solve the problem. If not, that's when you should call a professional anyways most of the time. So that's why I think the drain cleaner is such a good option, because it's not going to get you in too much trouble, but also it kind of is a good indication you might have a bigger problem going on.
Yes, you're watching Mercury with Mercury.
So if you do all that, then I would do it. Then make sure that you pull it out. When you pull it out, you kind of clean it as it's going back into the drain cleaner itself, right? Cleaning it with a little bit of bleach is really good. They're really hard to air out. If you don't have a space to air them out, they can kind of be a pain in the butt. But I have had mine for years, and I clean it with a little bit of bleach when I'm putting it back into the actual shell casing that is in there.
You don't need a snake if you don't have a problem.
2 or 3 years, doesn't have
I recommend flushing it though.
I don't use it for other when I need it for a drain. So, and I haven't really aired it out, so it's not really corroding that bad, and I don't think you'll have too much problems with it. But since I'm asked all the time, there you go. So, once you do that once, I always think it's best to do it twice. If you get a little bit of that hair clog or whatever you have in there, natural buildup or anything, you get a little bit of that out, then I would probably try to see, well, how much of it do I think I got it out? Can I flush it now with a drain cleaner? After you know you got it out, maybe flushing it isn't a bad idea, which is true. Flushing it with hot water is an even better idea. If you have a 5-gallon pail of hot water, flushing that down afterwards can be a really good idea to kind of make sure you get all the extra debris you may be floating around in there. There's also a different kind of drain auger that you could get if you really wanted to upgrade. Now, the next upgraded product would be your pistol grip drain auger. These pistol grip drain augers can attach to your regular powered battery drill, and then it basically looks like a little Tommy. Someone asked a really good question. Do I have a suggestion for keeping shower heads clear longer? Get one of those. Get like a pack of those tooth cleaning brushes, those tiny ones. Get those. Do you know what I mean? Like they're like toothpicks almost, like the toothpicks with like brushes. You stick those through the holes of the shower head, and it clears them up real good. Sorry, that was a good question. You can bend that tip at a 45-degree angle too, but they're thicker. They're anywhere from 3/8 to a half inch, sometimes bigger if you're going for bigger pipes and etc. But that bigger pipe, the bigger wire, can do a really good job cleaning things up and make sure it's not missing anything. But it can get kind of knotted in there and stuck sometimes. So be aware of that when you're using it. If you ever get stuck with it, just put it in reverse right away and then run the drill backwards, and that will pull it out pretty good. If it doesn't, run it backwards right away. Take your time. It eventually does come. Just a little bit of perseverance when you are doing it. That being said, they're usually between 20 to 25 feet, so they're much longer as well. And be mindful that if you're using it in an apartment, right, that you may be someone else's nightmare and accident. Now, what I mean by that, if you've ever been on the internet at all, you've seen these videos that go viral sometimes of a drain snake or a pistol grip auger or any auger of some kind popping through a tub or popping through a toilet, and now it's just like it looks like a snake coming right out of your drain. It's because somebody, oftentimes a music technician who doesn't have a ton of experience, will be using those products and not realize that other plumbing is connected. And if you use too long of an actual wire, too long of a snake, too long of an auger, it can do things like that and scare the crap out of your neighbor. But make a really good viral video though. So if that's your goal, this is going to be a good place to start. Now, you may be wondering though, Mercury, is there any real difference between cast iron and PVC? Like, do I need to be more mindful of these things when I'm doing this? First and foremost, I'm going to say that one of the reasons why this happens a lot more in your cast iron piping, the reason why cast iron piping is a lot dirtier most of the time. It's grimy, it collects a lot of hair. Honestly, cast iron pipes are notorious for this problem because there can be developed burrs inside of it. So what I mean by that is, you know, when you're cutting metal or any metal of any kind, or even when you are like, you know, breaking apart, you know.
Yes, I'm from Wisconsin.
Might be like little burrs, little pointy sharp spots on that aluminum can or any metal that you're cutting at all. That can happen inside of a drain pipe. Now, over time, you know, that drain pipe can be deteriorating. Maybe someone used a lot of drain oil. Maybe it got beat up some way, shape, or form of the things that you're putting down the drain. Now, over time, 50, 60, 70 years, you can develop little burrs inside. Now, those little burrs can grab onto hair, grab onto things, and actually develop a much larger problem, right? So that's why I tell people don't necessarily just push it down, pull it up, because you're not. Chances are when you just push it down, make it go away, it's not going to go away. Any product in that same vein that tells you, hey, you know what? I'm just going to make it easier for it to go down the drain, like the famous drain funnel. I don't like any of those products that tell you, yeah, just let your hair go down the drain. That's not going to cause a problem, I swear. You know, a couple years ago when I first started on the good old-fashioned TikTok, I made a video where I basically Drain Funnel reached out and said, hey, do you want to be sponsored by me? And I reached out back to them and I said, no. I know. And I just straight up told them that I did not think that their product really worked. And then I think that it only works in ideal conditions if it does work. And the person said, "Oh no, I've been testing this for 5 years. I've been testing this for 5 years." And then he showed me
Replace the cast iron.
plastic clean.
Replace it.
Going about 5 feet.
Don't half measure it.
And yeah, I mean, in ideal condition with new construction, when no one's lived in it a whole lot, yeah, I'm sure it works fine. But basically, what it is a funnel that you replace your drain cover with, and you put the funnel there instead, and then it takes all the water and all the hair that's going through to it and makes it into a really tight funnel, and then pushes it down the drain for like one hair at a time. So that should help prevent larger clogs. I mean, yeah, maybe if you don't already have buildup, you know. So those products that make you do that, stay away from it. I prefer when people use like tea shrooms, or any type of hair catcher products. They do a really good job. I know no one likes touching wet hair. I know that some people have sensory problems and really don't want to deal with that, and I want to be sensitive to that. But I also want to encourage you that, you know, I think it might be best to clean those after every time you use the shower. You know, if you need to use rubber gloves, I highly recommend it, just because that's going to save you a lot bigger of a headache than if you don't do that and you just use a product like drain funnel and just let that air go down the drain. So, all that being said, everything that we've just went over, right? Now you put everything back together, and then you can make sure that it's good to go. Run that water.
Thank you, JK. I love you.
And if you're good to go, boy, good. You did a great job. So, just to walk you through the steps, I would make sure that you would turn on that water in your sink first, see how long it takes. The longer it takes, the farther down it is. Then I would make sure that I put a bucket underneath that P-trap, take off the P-trap, get myself a skinny drain cleaner from Cobra, then run that down in there. And then once I feel pretty confident that I got whatever was in there, I would close it all back up, run that water again, flush it out, and then you're good to go, okay? If you want one extra step, you could use a sink plunger. An accordion sink plungers out there that are really good. I have several at home that I love a lot. And they're basically just a tiny little sink plunger that goes right above your sink drain. And if you close off your overflow drain and then just pump it real fast with your sink plunger, it usually does a pretty good job, okay? That pressure usually pulls it up and dislodges it. Now, the reason why I didn't lead with that is because I really only like that for when something's in your P-trap or something's like stuck in your actual stopper, right? If it's farther down, it goes back into my theory that you want to pull it out rather than push it down. And that plunger will kind of like grab it with the air pressure, and then it will kind of loosen up and go farther down. So in a desperate situation, I don't think they're bad. I think they're really good when you know you're having some problems in your P-trap, or you know it's not too bad of a problem. You know, getting ahead of it is not a bad idea. Like, even though if there's a slight slowage, you know, then I don't think those products are bad at all. If you really want to use Drano, I absolutely understand using it in a preventative state. Using it as a preventative method is a better idea. So before you have the problem, instead of waiting for the problem to develop and then you're using it, okay? So I hope that helps you. I hope that I went over everything, and I think that this is a pretty good job. And remember that these jobs are often pretty dirty. They don't always smell real good, but nothing feels better than a little bit of elbow grease and a drain that is doing its job. So hang in there, and I hope it all goes well for you. Next question. Hello.
Okay, cool. That was your sneak peek now, everybody. Okay, if you want to watch the full episode tomorrow, you can. It will be coming out for free next week on Spotify and YouTube, wherever you want to listen or watch podcasts. But if you want to listen to it and watch it earlier, go to my Patreon or my Substack, and you will get it tomorrow. We're very excited to like start that process of putting out these episodes a week early. And thank you so much for all your feedback. Sorry the volume was so low. I got to a point where I did the best I could, and sometimes you can't make the things exactly the way you want. But this will be a free podcast, okay? But essentially, people who are becoming subscribers on my Patreon and Substack help us keep this free. You help us provide this access to people for free. You keep the pirate ship going. So if you want to, you can absolutely support us that way. There is no pressure. You can always subscribe to our Substack for free as well. But if you subscribe with I think it's minimal of like $3, then you're able to get access to the podcast 1 week prior to every time it comes out. So thank you so much for taking your time with me. Let me know if you have any more feedback. That is about half the way. That's half the podcast. There's 2 more questions. I gave a very thorough answer. As I'm watching this, I'm like, boy, this bitch talks. I'm happy that all of you seem like you had fun, though. Yeah, I have my kitty shirt on. I'm happy that all of you seem like you had a lot of fun watching it. So yeah, become a member of my Substack, and you'll get this 1 week early. I'm going to continue to edit the podcast. I'm going to edit episode 3 because episode 2 is already done. So yeah, let me know if you have any feedback in the next minute or 2, and then I'm going to probably get going. Hey, what's your channel about? I'm the trans handyman. I teach DIY stuff. I always love your laugh. Thank you very much. Made my day, Mercury. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Friday. I always love your laugh. Well, thank you. You seem very nice. Well, thank you. What is your fandom called? Like, what are my fans called? I call them starlings. If you go to my merch shop, we actually sell starling shirts and starling stickers. I just love your energy. You make me smile. Well, thank you. Thank you. Her grubbles? Grubbles. Her grubbles. You know what? My accent, that sounds so cute. Hi from Scotland. Well, sending love from Scotland. Well, hi there. Thank you so much for watching. All the way from Scotland. Hold on, I just lost track of everything. Love the sets. Thanks for giving me some new learning material to go through my day. Good. I love that. My wonderful Basil. For those who don't know, Basil's my CCO or COO. They're basically the chief operating officer. They run the show behind the scenes and keep everything going. But they came to me and they said their favorite podcast was Ologies. I don't know if any of you are fans of Ologies. And they're like, I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I think you should just talk. And I was like, you think that's a good idea, Baze? And they're like, no, I think you should just talk. Just do a podcast where you're just talking maintenance. I think people would listen. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're giving you that. And then once this podcast is out and running, we're then going to do Dustpan, which is our favorite show that we've been talking about for a long time. Dustpan is going to be a show with me and Basil kind of talk about media consumption and the world as whole. We take one subject in media, and how people got it wrong, essentially, or how that has affected us in various different ways from the trans community and other marginalized communities. It's called Dustpan, collecting your thoughts. So I'm pretty excited about doing that. Good stuff. Always love the trolls. The trolls are always fun. Sending love from Chicago. I was just in Chicago the past weekend. We were interviewing people that we helped for the fundraiser. So that was real fun. We're going to be doing the fundraiser again for those who know on YouTube and Instagram. We're doing the fundraiser again on March 31st, the Trans Day of Visibility. We're going for 1 million this year. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to keep working. Again, join my Substack so you can get access to this episode early. And other than that, have a good day. And I will talk to all of you very soon. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye. Okay, bye.